currently have about 1,547 of our fellow Coloradans hospitalized with COVID. Of those, we estimate that about 1,000 are hospitalized from COVID. The other 500 or so in that figure would be people who are hospitalized for another reason and might also test positive for COVID. That number decreased 34 from yesterday, including a decrease of 1 in pediatric hospitalizations. Majority of the people hospitalized, about 2/3 of them, continue to be unvaccinated. And again, to put that in perspective, that 2/3
Absolutely.
Okay, Melissa, would you call us to order?
The January 25th regular town council meeting is called to order at 6 p.m. Mayor Mark Sukup.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rick Collins.
Here.
Councilmember Aaron Pearson.
Here.
Councilmember Lisa Lake. Councilmember Brett Hansen.
Here. All right. We do have an amendment to the agenda due to the fact that one of our council persons, Lisa, is not here tonight. We've determined that it'd be best that the whole council be involved with the executive session. So we are going to postpone the executive session to the next meeting. I don't need a motion, so all I need to do is have a vote that you guys agree to change the agenda. So does everybody agree? Do you guys agree to changing the agenda? And I'm getting 4 nods of changing the agenda for that. Okay. Consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that? Could I have a motion?
Motion to accept the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 4-0. Mayor and council reports. Council people, anybody? Rick? Nothing. Okay. Finance report, Lisa? Nothing. Okay. Lisa, actually, would you mind maybe if you're ready to mention what you're doing as far as the RFP for the our cash and loan?
Sure. So I spoke with Melissa Buck, our municipal advisor, excuse me, last week. And her advice to us is to put out a banking RFP for all of our cash, roll in our commercial cards and our debt and see what kind of response we get back. She is going to be working on drafting that RFP in the next few weeks, and then we'll put that out, and then the finance committee will evaluate all of those bids and go forward. She wasn't positive that the debt side would make any sense, but it would help the RFP on the banking side to at least throw that in as a potential.
That's all. Okay. Thanks a lot, Lisa. Engineering report, Don?
The only thing I have is that other than the report that's in your packet is Councilman Hansen and Collins have asked that we add to our future engineering report a status report on the Parkway, and we will do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Did you have anything to say on that today or not?
No, sir.
Okay. Community development. Matt, do you have anything?
Mayor, I'd like to point out, and I noticed just tonight in the packet that our attachments weren't in there. So your version is missing the attachments. We'll get those in. I don't know what happened. It was a fumble, must have been with the uploading of them. So, but I did want to point out is the new attachments, we'll get them circulated to everybody and we'll get into the packet that goes, that's published. We are changing the strategy on how we're going to present the information. We're including commercial and multifamily as well as single family detached. So you're going to see a little bit more, it'll be a more robust report for you guys.
That's great. Thanks. And I've thought you've done a great job on those reports, Matt, after the, seeing all the
Thank you.
different minutia that you have to deal with. So thanks.
Thanks.
Police report, Chief Jones.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I won't go into the details regarding the police data report because it's full of statistics and sometimes those can be rather cumbersome. But as a community, we often hear about things that are a bit of a challenge. But tonight I wanted to go into some detail about one of the successes that the town routinely sees and hears about, but maybe not in the greater circles with the community, and that is the Shop with the Cop program. In December, on December 11th last year, on an early Saturday morning, we had Shop with the Cop program, which was hosted by Walmart And then the individuals that run the Subway sandwich stop at the same location at the Walmart address also provided breakfast to 4 different families, and ultimately it turned into 5 families. These families are picked from the school district. 4 of them came from Timnath Elementary, 1 family came from Bethke. But I must say, these are kids that have a hard time just based on their circumstances in life. And of course, in Timnath, we're blessed with many, many things. I mean, we truly have a significant community, but they also recognize the plight of others. Those 4 families, actually the 5, were provided with gift cards, which were sent to us and given to us by the Walmart Corporation. And it's due to the donations of the community. It doesn't just involve Timnath. This involved a couple of car dealerships. Peterson Toyota, for one, supplied 4 drivers and trucks to haul all the goods that the kids purchased for their families to those separate homes, and then ultimately the 5th family. Additionally, the Ford dealership over in Fort Collins, Garf Ford, gave us a significant financial donation. And it didn't stop there. Members of the community stepped forward to provide not only cash donations, but the moral support to continue this program. Additionally, many volunteers, both within the community itself and city employees, helped wrap the myriad of gifts that these kids picked out. And in some instances, these were real tear-jerker situations. I mean, homes that threadbare carpet, and the kids are shopping for household goods for their moms and dads. Some of the homes were from broken homes, to say the least. One of the kids had serious developmental issues and challenges. One of the families could hardly speak English. One of our town employees translated for that family at the event. And to say the least, it couldn't be done without all the efforts of city employees, town residents, and the businesses that work around and close to Timnath. So it was a tremendous success. And I know so often you hear about the things that are challenges for us. This was one of the great successes that you just don't hear about. And we've been doing it for roughly 5 years.
Great. Thanks, Chief.
You're welcome.
Staff report. Brian, did you have something that you wanted to say on this, or? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Brian. Resolution number 3, series 2022. Excuse me.
Did you, can I have a moment?
Oh, thanks. Absolutely. And I was the one that teed you up. I
Yeah.
apologize. Melissa, can
Thank
we have
you.
a report from the town clerk?
Yes. We have our election coming up on April 5th. We have 5 candidates and 3 ballot issues, or ballot questions that will go forward. At this time, ballots should start going out March 4th, or no, I'm sorry, March 14th, and they will be required to be back, returned to this building by 7 p.m. on April 5th. We will have at least 1 ballot box at the administration building where the police and public works are, and I'm hoping to get 1 installed here that will be ours. And I'm hoping for a huge success.
Great, thanks. I think we were all pleased to see 5 people stepped up and wanted to participate in town events. So that's, I think, really speaks well. Thanks, Melissa. Resolution number 3, series 2022, a resolution appointing Robert Axmacher to Planning Commissioner. Matt.
Thank you, Mayor. We're happy to have Robert Axmacher. He's actually here tonight as a planning commissioner. He's an alternate. We actually had a recent resignation. Christina Bickley resigned due to conflict at the time that was all the meetings are held. So opened up the full seat. And so we're recommending that we promote Robert from alternate to the full seat and assume her term. I do want to point out in the staff report, there was under key points, It says current terms, that language, for whatever reason, didn't get changed, but it's changed, and I'll make sure that it's in the one that's published, but it's pending town council approval. The terms and status of the planning commissioners will be, and that's the list that's shown there. So apologize for that.
You had a tough time with this report this year.
For whatever reason, I know, I actually literally did this one myself, so I don't know what happened.
Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, well, maybe, yeah.
Let's see. Anybody have any questions or comments or concerns? So could I have a motion to approve resolution 3, Series 2022, a resolution appointing Robert Oxmacher to the Planning Commissioner?
I move to approve the resolution appointing Robert Oxmacher to Planning Commissioner.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Robert, we're lucky to have you. Thank you for volunteering. Ordinance number 4, Series 2022, an ordinance amending the Charter 16, Article 6 of the Timnath Land Use Code. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is the second reading of the Land Use Code amendments that was brought before you 2 weeks ago. Generally, everything is the same as you had seen 2 weeks ago, minus a couple of changes that I'll just kind of highlight. That was also listed in the staff report. So at that meeting, as council kind of had requested that staff look at the retail fuel stations, gas stations that we were proposing, and to come back with some modifications to that. So staff did some further research and came with the new proposal that the quarter-mile separation be in the Harmony corridor only, and then any other zoning that there only be one per four-way intersection. Then with that, the other change that was made was in regards to the liquor store that Commissioner or not, Councilmember Hanson had brought up for changing a buffer distance to residential zoning districts for liquor stores. So that has also been included in this packet as well. One of the last things that was also discussed and removed from this packet was a condition on wineries, distilleries, and microbreweries having no outdoor music or speakers. That condition has been removed from that's in this packet as well. So other than those three, everything else is the same as you had seen 2 weeks ago, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you all might have.
Okay, Aaron.
I just want to make sure that we're clear. We had a lot of discussion about that daycare, and originally it wasn't accepted at all to have daycare within like 1,000 feet of Harmony. But there was a compromise that we could have a daycare as long as it isn't fronting on Harmony, and that's what's in this packet.
Correct. What staff's recommendation is that it be allowed in the Harmony corridor, but with the condition that it does not front Harmony Road, and that is what is in that packet.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear to everyone listening as well, that that's what was in this packet. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron. Brett, I'm going to ask if, did you question, you put into the resolutions to move liquor stores back a certain margin. You did not include that same provision for wineries and distilleries and cideries. Was that an oversight, or did you mean to do that?
It wasn't part of the initial discussion, but I've had further discussions with staff about it and continue to think about it. It is my intent tonight, and I'll open up to council to comment before I do so, but to move to amend this so that cideries, distilleries, wineries, and microbreweries are not permitted in the neighborhood commercial. When I think of the neighborhood commercial, I think of it as similar to the residential mixed use, which we're not permitting it in. It's meant to be businesses that support a mostly residential area. And I think it would be better to have those types of establishments in your business and your larger commercial and your commercial mixed use. Allow them to be just about everywhere in Timnath with the exception of a couple spots. With regards to the setbacks, I would open that up to the rest of the council. I don't have a lot of personal experience with these kinds of establishments. So I'd honestly appreciate the perspective of fellow council members on that. I don't have strong feelings about it in that particular condition.
So just so you know,
Okay.
a brewery usually serves liquor, and so you'll have open containers and stuff in that location, which would be probably similar to a liquor store, just explaining to you. So I want to make sure the position you're coming forward with is one that you understand what we've got and stuff.
Yeah, it's not the presence of alcohol that I think is the issue. It's what's appropriate. The planning department constantly uses the phrase highest and best use, and when we're talking neighborhood commercial, I see this as not quite the best use for that land. And a liquor store I see is having a higher impact on surrounding property values and the look of a neighborhood. And so I feel that should be a little bit more distance, but with the cideries, distilleries, wineries, and microbreweries, as long as it's not in the neighborhood commercial, I have no need to have an additional setback beyond that.
Council, I'm going to let you guys talk in a sec, but I'd like staff's comments on that.
Yeah, so we've had this conversation with Brett, as he had mentioned. Staff doesn't have concern with prohibiting that in the neighborhood commercial. As he has mentioned, that's something that we are comfortable with. I will put out there, and I think this is where I've had this conversation with Councilmember Hansen. The conditional use, for the others, and this is where I think he was kind of getting at, is the conditional use for like a community commercial or business commercial mixed use actually gives council, staff, and planning commission a little bit more oversight on an application that comes in. If we change it just to a permitted with conditions for that setback, that actually kind of removes some further review and oversight on the process of an application of that type, to where all they have to meet are these predetermined conditions of a setback. Council and planning commission they don't necessarily have the ability to weigh on additional conditions that a conditional use allows for. So that's why we as staff are comfortable with it being in the, the CC, CMU-B as a conditional use. But as, Councilmember Hansen mentioned, the neighborhood commercial not, being a prohibited, we are fine with.
Yeah, not on that point, but another point maybe on same kind of thing. One of the residents, John Barkley, had written to all of us regarding page 72 and 73. And after reading through this and talking with staff, what I concluded is the way it is gives us greater flexibility, I think, in that, like on 72 and 73, if somebody comes as an applicant and wants to do something, we have the ability to bring them back in to discuss and try to figure out how we can buffer things they're doing, how we can correct it. If we don't have it written like this, we're just putting it black and white, and it's what we put in there. And I don't know if any of us are genies where we can read the tea leaves that closely. I'd rather have the staff look at it. And if I'm reading it wrong, I'd like the staff to clarify it for me.
Nope, you've got it right. It's more black and white if we make it the plan or permitted with conditions than the conditional use, to where you are correct. There's the greater flexibility to have the discussions for buffering, things like that, as a conditional use.
And people listening in can't see you guys as nodding. So I'm going to just add that during Rick's discussion, both Kevin and Matt of the town staff were nodding in agreement with his comments. Okay, Aaron.
Yeah, I agree with Rick on this. I think just having that flexibility, because we don't know what's coming up in the future, and depending how the neighborhood lays out, I think, we would be sort of strapping that other council with our thoughts here, as opposed to just letting them come to staff, hey, this is our idea. This is how we can work around it. Maybe it doesn't fit like our neighborhood now. Obviously, I don't think a brewery is going to go in at 3 Bell and River Pass. It wouldn't make much sense, but maybe somewhere else north, when they develop, it would make sense for it to be in there. So I'd prefer to have a little more flexibility and therefore keep it the same, right?
Yep. And I know there's some concern at that property that you had mentioned, 3 Bell and River Pass. But from staff's perspective, we're looking at this as a whole town-wide with that zoning, to where we don't want to necessarily create some, unforeseen consequences with making some changes on just, that kind of hit one property, but then, other areas that are appropriately located and zoned, then have these undue consequences, from something like this. So we've been looking at it from a larger, scale as the whole town and not necessarily one property.
Great. Thank you.
So I guess on that note, I'll just add that I feel by removing the neighborhood commercial, even conditional use, we address a constant frustration that I've heard around the neighborhood over the years. Is just surprised at what's being built around you, and how that changes what you thought the neighborhood was going to be. I'm in favor of keeping things with conditional uses and allowing those discussions to happen. I'm just not sure I see the need to have a discussion about a neighborhood commercial zoning. And if a future council feels differently, that it's in their power to change, it's much easier to remove a restriction than to add it later after the fact. So on that note, I would move to amend the resolution for table 4.1 that cideries, distilleries, wineries, and microbreweries not be permitted within the neighborhood commercial zoning.
Okay. I think at this point, it's a public hearing, right, Melissa?
Yes, and we don't have any public hearing or
Great.
public to speak at this time.
So,
Let me get a point of clarification on that, just so we know. By council approving that amendment, do we jump ahead of a process where there should have been a zoning process and a rezoning process? Would we accomplish the same thing by putting a moratorium on that until it goes through the process? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there because it seems like we're stepping on somebody else's work as well.
So what we're hoping to have happen tonight is if we make changes like this to specific components of it, you can make those changes, they get in place and adopted here, and then we can come back if we need to make some further amendments at another time, but at least getting it in place to have the stopgap is our hope. Instead of the moratorium route, which is an option, but it kind of creates another problem that then has to be solved yet again. But if the council is comfortable with the solution that's on the table for this item, move on that item, and then you can move on other amendments if you'd like to make other amendments, and then we'll kind of put them all together at the final vote. So
That clarifies that, and I'm comfortable with that.
okay, perfect.
So I think I made a motion and then.
So I know, just a
Okay.
sec.
Okay. Just
I'm
making
on,
sure-
I'm on top.
I just want to make sure it's clear. I made an official.
Everyone's interrupting me.
All right.
So, Melissa, you have said that we do not have anybody for a public hearing. Okay, so public hearing's closed. We have I assume, Brett, you want to make a motion to amend this ordinance. Do you want to make that now?
Sure. I move to amend.
If I may, we need a motion for the main motion, right? For the main action that we're taking.
No, we're
And then
not. We got to do the amendment first, don't we?
No, you start with the main motion, and then you get a motion to amend. Then you vote on the motion to amend, and then you vote on the main motion as amended or not amended. It sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and you don't have to do it that way. It's just what Robert's rules says, but I'm just informing you, so.
What I'm going to do then, if it's all right with the mayor, is I'll make the motion and then entertain an amendment to that motion.
That'd be awesome, Rick.
We have a second to make the motion.
I second that, Rick.
Then if there's an amendment to that motion, we'll entertain that.
So did you make?
Yes.
And it's been seconded. So now we have it. Now we make a amendment to the motion. Go ahead, Brett.
Okay, I move to amend table 4.1 for cideries, distilleries, wineries, and microbreweries that they not be permitted in the neighborhood commercial zoning.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Now, voice from the sky, does it, do we now vote on the amendment or do we vote on the motion?
The motion is amended.
The motion as amended? Okay.
Correct.
So, okay. Thanks, Rick. So do I have a motion to approve or ordinance number 4, series 2022, and ordinance amending Chapter 16, Article 6 of the Timnath Land Use Code as amended?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carried unanimously. Thanks, everybody, for your work and everything on this. Actually, it was a great exercise in town government. We got input from about 5 or 6 different sources. The council was involved with suggestions. The staff was very receptive and helpful. The planning and zone, I'm getting there. Planning and zoning did a great job of laying out things for us. And Phil, if you could take to your group our sincere appreciation for their hard work on this. Okay. All right, resolution number 4, series 2022, a resolution approving Timnath Landing 8th filing final plat. Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. As we get the technology up and running. So this is, as you mentioned, this is a final plat proposal for the Timnath Landing 8th filing. The owner is CAC Timnath LLC. The applicant is PCS Group, represented tonight by Mr. Jeff Norberg on Zoom. This 8th filing, as you can see from this map, located just at the northeast corner of Harmony Road and the railroad tracks. It's a subsequent phase after the Timnath Landing's 3rd and 4th filing. The zoning in this area is R2 single family residential with a PD overlay that was recently approved back at the end of 2021. This proposal is for 57 single-family detached fee simple lots with the intent to create alley-loaded single-family homes. These homes will range from roughly 3,600, or these lots will range from roughly 3,600 square feet to just over 5,700 square feet. And that square footage complies with that recently approved PD overlay. The density in this area is roughly 5.1 dwelling units per acre. That is just for this filing, but this is in conformance with the overall approved sketch plan for density for this and the overall density of the Timnath Landing subdivision. This development is also providing 20% open space with this plat. And even though it's not a part of this plat, it was part of the 3rd and 4th filing. This actually on the south east side of with Fellows Drive here, all of those homes do front the community park that will be completed with the 3rd and 4th filing, and then also have connection to the trails and other open space within those 3rd and 4th filings. So it is adjacent to and has ample access to open space. Staff has reviewed this application and it is in conformance with the approved preliminary plat, the land use code, and our design criteria manual. With that, I will turn it over to Jeff Norberg for a brief presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Let's see here. Bear with me. All right, am I Oh, here we go. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Jeff Norberg with PCS Group. We are the land planners and landscape architects for the Timnath Lakes community. This is a pretty simple application, so I will keep our presentation brief.
Appreciate it.
I'd like to take a quick moment to acknowledge the team and to thank Kevin and all the reviewers that helped us get here this evening. This first slide depicts the existing sketch plan for the Timnath Lakes community. The blue dashed line showing where filing 8 is with respect to the rest of the community and Harmony Road. Here is a page from the approved PD overlay, again highlighting the area we're discussing tonight and showing the alley load use there. And this is an exhibit showing preliminary plat 3. And again, we've highlighted the area that we are speaking about tonight. We have here an illustrative version of the final plat drawing. As Kevin mentioned, there are 57 single-family detached alley load lots here, ranging in size from about 3,600 square feet to 5,700 square feet, which again is consistent with both the approved PD overlay and third preliminary plat. And so to wrap up, this proposal is consistent with the sketch plan and the PD overlay. It has been thoroughly reviewed by staff and referral agencies, and staff has recommended approval. This proposal furthers the goal of the comprehensive plan by adding a bit more diverse housing product to the Timnath Lakes community. This proposal features extensive landscaping as well as has the fronts of homes facing Harmony and also the neighborhood park there, which was a concern as well. Anyway, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
It doesn't appear we have any questions from the council. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Great, thank you.
Any discussion? Melissa, do we have? Go ahead.
This is the same as what we've seen in the past, right?
Yeah, this is the same as the preliminary plat that came forward kind of the fall of last year.
Yeah, and no changes. I looked through it. I didn't
no
see
changes.
anything. Great. Thank you.
Public hearing. Melissa, do we have anybody?
We don't have anybody to speak.
All right, public hearing's closed. Do I have a motion for resolution number 4, series 2022, a resolution approving the Timnath Landing 8th filing final plat?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution number 4, series 2022, a resolution approving the Timnath Landing 8th filing final plat was approved unanimously. Resolution number 5, series 2022, a resolution authorizing Public Works Director to sign the purchase proposal for a new 2022 HV 513 international and equipment package. Don.
Yes, sir. You might remember that when we did the budget for 2022, we moved some dollars from 23 that we had first kind of assumed we would buy a vehicle in for this 222. And we did that because we were seeing disruption in the supply chain that I think everybody has dealt with. And we were concerned whether or not, number one, the cost, and number two, that we'd even be able to get it when it got to that point. We had an opportunity to get a truck exactly like we want. I will just tell you that the vehicle portion of that truck is exactly the same price as we paid for the last vehicle we got a year ago, which I thought was pretty significant. And so the added items for some of the other things were higher than we paid the last time. But all in all, we got a very good deal, and we'll have the truck before snow season next year. Any questions?
Don, if you could add, my understanding is that you use the state bid process to determine the price on this. If you could elaborate on that just a minute or two.
Sure thing. Our the supplier of this was awarded the state contract for all of this, and we get the benefit of those prices. And so it was a bidding process through the state, and we're getting the benefit of all those costs.
Any other comments, questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve resolution number 4, series 20?
So moved.
Sorry, resolution number 5, series 2022, a resolution authorizing Public Works Director to sign the purchase proposal for the new 2022 international and equipment package.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Resolution number 5, series 2022, a resolution authorizing the Public Works Director to sign the purchase proposal for a new 2022 HV 513 international and equipment package was approved unanimously.
Thank you.
First reading and setting a public hearing on February 8th, 2022 at 6 o'clock. Ordinance number 4, series 2022, an ordinance adopting campaign finance limitations for candidates for elected office. Carolyn. Is Carolyn on?
No, she isn't. She had another meeting to come to tonight. So what we are doing, I think we've discussed this before, but we're adding limits to campaign contributions that can be made. And it isn't clear in the law whether what the amount is. And so what we're doing is we're going to follow the county amounts.
And there's a chart for everybody. Now I'm thumbing through it. I saw it the first time I went through here, but there it is. There's a chart on page 136 and 137, which sets the limits. Right now, there's no limit, and this will set a limit that is, and Lori, if I say the wrong thing, tell me that, that this sets the limits consistent with the county, all the counties in Colorado.
That is correct.
Okay.
That was not in the packet that I received. What is that amount? Just so I know.
Oh, here, why don't I give you mine?
Both Aaron and I are in the same boat over here.
No, I'm in the same boat too.
Oh, Lori says she doesn't have it either. I see it on the printed agenda here, but it was not in the packet that I looked up online to.
Oh, I don't, it might not have been.
So.
So Lori, is this something that needs to be done in order to, this isn't a charter, this is just an ordinance, right?
That's correct. And Aaron and I and Carolyn talked earlier about it. It wasn't in the packet that we received, and that it probably didn't matter because we don't have to get it done right away. We have enough time to do it. And we thought, well, we could wait until the February meeting and have Carolyn here. So since it apparently wasn't in everyone's packet, I think it's appropriate to table that.
Okay. So do I need a motion to table it, Lori?
Yes.
Yeah, before I give a
Yeah.
motion, let me just make sure people understand too. This doesn't go into effect to affect this election cycle
Good comment.
that's coming up. This is for down the road. It goes into effect the end of June. Okay, if passed. I would make a motion, we table this until the next meeting and make sure that everybody's got the correct paperwork.
Second.
And before I do a vote, I echo what you said, Rick. It's very important that these limits will not be in an application during this campaign. It'll only occur after this campaign if we approve this ordinance. Okay, so we've got a motion to table. Wait, could I have a motion to table?
I did. I gave that
Okay.
motion and we had a second from.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll table this motion till February 8th. Do we have any other items to bring before the council?
Just a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.